Welcome back to my series of videos where I'm showing you how to make a scratch version of the classic game Snake as shown on the screen now. At the end of the last video we got up to this stage where users could change the direction the head is pointing and the head was moving and would teleport through the sides to the opposite side. So we'd met all the success criteria shown in green there, and we had to move to the next step, which was making a body part follow the head. Okay, so to create the body sprite we're going to right click and duplicate the head sprites. We've got an equal size yellow circle, that's going to be our body sprite. We're going to change that costume and edit it, and using the fill tool which we set to yellow we're going to cover the eyes and then click OK, and that's going to be our body sprite there. Now if we're going to click the scripts, because all these instructions, all this code, this is for the head not the body, so we're going to delete these. We want the body to behave differently, so we need to give it different instructions. Part of those instructions are going to be to follow a list that we're going to create now for sprite 1. So we're going to click on variables, make a list, and we're going to call this list X head positions, because it's going to store where the head is on the X axis. And similarly we need to make another list called Y head positions, and this list is going to store where the head is on the Y axis, kind of vertically. So we've got two empty lists there at the stage at the moment, which I'm just going to hide, and I'm going to put in the instruction right here to insert in that list called X head positions. We're going to insert from the motion menu the X position of the head. So each time it loops around, each time it iterates in that forever instruction, it's going to insert the X position into the X head positions list, and we're going to do the same thing for the Y positions lists. So we're going to put the Y position into the list called Y positions each time it loops around that forever loop. When it's done that, we want to broadcast a message, and we're just going to call it body move. Doesn't matter what you call it, but this kind of makes sense because each time the body receives that message, which we're going to use the when I receive body move code, we're going to tell it to go to the place that's at the top of the list. So we're going to say go to item 1 of X head positions on the X axis, and on the Y axis go to item 1 of the Y head positions. Now if we test that out, you can see it follows. It's a bit too close, the body's a bit too close to the head, and that's because the movement of 15 steps that I've got isn't far enough for the size of my head and body, so I've just increased it to 25, and as you can see that's a bit better. I'm just going to reduce that slightly to maybe 23 just to make it slightly closer, like thus. So when I test it, the body now follows the head the way I want when I go up, down, left and right, and so on. And that is now that success criteria met, and we're going to do the success criteria now where we have cheesy puffs of a suitable size for the snake to eat. For the cheesy puff sprite, we're going to click on the new sprite icon and then select cheesy puffs from the things menu. Too big, so it's failing that success criteria, so we're going to give it the instructions when the green flag's clicked to change the size. We don't want it to be 100%, we're going to knock it down to something in the region of 25%. So if we test that now, that's far more reasonable. So this success criteria is now met. So now we need to try and add the code to meet the next success criteria, which is to make sure that the cheesy puffs disappear when they touch the head of the snake. So the snake's kind of eating them. And to do that, we're going to need to add more code, and we're going to add a forever block. And inside that, we're going to put an if block to add some selection. And we're going to go to the sensing block, and we're going to get the computer to look to see if cheesy puffs are touching the colour. And we're going to use the drip pipette tool to select yellow. And we're going to set it so that if the cheesy puffs are touching the colour yellow, they hide, i.e. they disappear on the screen so they look like they've eaten it. Because we're using the hide one, we should use the show one when we first click. Let's test it out. And it's hidden because it's touching the head of the snake. That's that success criteria met. Now we're going to add some code to make sure it hits the success criteria of coming back again at a random place on the screen. Okay, to hit the next criteria, which is to make the Cheesy Puffs reappear on the screen so the snake can eat them again in the game. We want it to happen after a short period of time, so we're going to put a wait in there. To do that, we need to go to the control menu, click on a wait block and move it in after it's hidden. We don't want the wait to be long, so we're going to set it to 0.5, half a second. After the wait, we want it to go to somewhere on the screen. So on the motion menu, we're going to click the go to block. We don't want it to go to X0, Y0 every single time, which is the middle of the screen. We want it to go somewhere random. So on the operators, we're going to drag a random block in. And on the X axis, we're going to set it to minus 235 to 235. So anywhere from the left to the right of the screen. And on the Y axis, we're going to set it to minus 175 to 175, and it's going to pick a random number at random between those 2 points. So it could be anywhere on the screen. After it's done that, we want it to show up again. So on the looks, we're going to grab the show block. Let's test that out, and what we're looking for is when we eat the Cheesy Puffs, it waits and reappears somewhere at random, and it disappears, waits for a short period and reappears at random. So that is that success criteria successfully met. And now we must look towards meeting the next success criteria, 10 and 11, which is to set a score to 0 at the start of the game and have the score go up by 1 each time the Cheesy Puffs are eaten. And to do that, we need to add more code. Because we want to keep a track of the score, we need to store that in a box of variables. So we're going to go to the variable menu and create a variable called score. And at the start of the game, we're going to set that to 0. And we're going to change it by 1, so it goes up by 1 each time it touches yellow. Let's test that out. So the score starting by 0, and it goes up by 1 when we eat the Cheesy Puffs. When we touch it again, when we eat them, we expect to go to 2, and it does. And if we do it again, it should change by 1 again and go up to 3, which it does. So that is now that success criteria met. To meet the next success criteria shown in red will be on our next video. And just to remember, we're moving towards this version of the game where the snake grows as the score gets bigger and the pace goes up as well. Okay.